You only get an opportunity like this maybe once in your life, so you have to do it to your own specifications, to your own vision. Hi, I'm Jenny Hansen, and this is my renovation story in New Hampshire. I bought this home in 2017, and it took a number of years, almost 5 years, to demolish the interior and then renovate it into a place that I could live. I grew up just down the street, and this place was always a bit of a mystery because it had grown in a lot. The only way you could really see this house was to sneak into the field. We weren't subtle because we were kids, so we would be on our dirt bike, and the people who owned it, of course, they would hear us and come running out and be like, "Get off my field." But the place had just so much mystery to me and so much intrigue. It just looked like a fairy tale or a storybook. So I had my eye on this house my whole life. And then when it finally came up, I went straight for it. I was like, please don't sell this to anybody but me. This building was originally a carriage house for the farm down the street, and then the properties were divided into smaller lots in the 1970s, and this became a one-family home. There were some parts that were quite dirty and smelly, and there was a time that I worried that maybe this had some bad vibes. But as soon as I began to tear it out and get back to just the structure of the building, of course, all that went away. So the first thing we did was really identify what has to go, and most of it had to go. They had brought the ceilings down very low in order to heat this big place, and they had also put a series of small rooms, bedrooms and bathrooms. If you see this is where rooms had been built. So look how low the ceiling is. It's very low. So we definitely went straight for taking those ceilings out. This building has what I call 3 bays. So there are 3 separate areas with big stone, structural walls that hold it together. When we had it down to just big empty bays, that's when I began my vision for what it could be. Because I'm an artist and a designer, I knew that it wouldn't be a typical place. This is the first thing that you see. It's a big open space with 2 beautiful fieldstone walls. We added a stage because with a huge room like this, you want to break up a little bit of the space. I have a friend who plays guitar, and sometimes we get up there and sing songs. Each area is almost like what I call a vignette. It's a moment, it's a vibe. So here on the stage, we have a lot of color and a lot of texture. There are several living rooms here. And so here's another one. This is where, if we're watching a movie, have a projector and a screen that comes down. Here you have somebody doing a lot of calculating in math, and other places we have people's initials that they've carved, really all through different periods of time too. It wasn't done all at once, and that's really what I love about it. It just tells you how many people have spent time in here. This whole area of the house was not being used by the family who lived here. In fact, in the winter, they didn't heat it. So over in the back corner was this strange structure that was very solid. Once we opened it up and got back to the beams, I saw that I had space to do something I've always wanted to do, which is a little house inside of a house. So this is one of my favorite features, is just having this cute little space that I can change and update depending on the season. You know, in this big wide open space, you finally have a little place to feel protected and cozy. So here we had space to do a really beautiful big open master bedroom. We wanted to create some sense of protection because this is where you're sleeping. And so we built this loft, dropped the ceiling down a little just so you'd have that feeling of being enclosed, but still wanted all that space and the openness. I was very inspired by the old European beds that you would see when there wasn't central heat, and at night you wanted to draw a heavy curtain and try to keep all your warmth inside. I love that feeling of a little nest that can create, so I imagined it on a much bigger scale. We can pull this curtain at night. It's not heavy and doesn't keep heat in, but it's just a nice feeling of being enclosed at night. One of the really cool things about bringing that ceiling low over the bedroom and bathroom was that I got to have a little loft up here. So it's just a fun little hideaway. The motif, these are all completely hand cut. It's not laser cut. This is all done with a jigsaw by the guys who did the building. It's an adaptation of the logo of this house, and you'll see it again on the fireplace. Some of the pieces here are actually designed by me and built with my team And that was really fun, that they would give me that paper, I forget it has a name, but it's the stuff you lay out on the floor to protect the floor when you're doing construction. I would take big rolls of that and sketch a template, and they would literally just trace and cut right from that template. Welcome to the bathroom. This is one of my favorite places. One of the must-haves for me was a soaking tub. This is wonderful. This was one of the big investments, but the best investments. I spend a lot of time there, especially in the winter, just looking out at the field, and it's so calming and peaceful. This was a piece that my mom and dad bought in Mexico in the 1960s and then never used, promptly put into storage in the barn. And so it was really fun to give it a new life. What I tried to do is pick up the texture of this in a couple of other places, like the tile on the shower floor and this ceiling fixture here, and then there's a herringbone pattern on the ceiling. So just do little nods to a texture. I have a very unconventional floor. It's made of plywood. I had looked at many different treatments for the floor, and I really, really hadn't seen one that I liked. What we ended up doing was, for most of the floor, we cut 4x4 squares and alternated the grain. So it's a checkerboard of plywood with the grain going in different directions. I have ideas for this place to grow and evolve as I'm living here, and having a floor made of plywood is the perfect surface to say, what could I paint on here that I'm feeling right now that I could repaint in a couple of years and not feel that I've made a huge commitment. Welcome to the room that has kitchen, dining, and even has a sunken living room. One of my most favorite things and the biggest decisions that I made was to keep this wall here in the kitchen as it was and not do anything to change it. Here was a chimney. This was a fireplace, and above it, there's this beautiful pink color that came from creosote seeping through over the years. So that was actually a central design element, that pinkish color. I picked it up in a few other places in this room, but that one little thing inspired the color palette in here. I've saved all of the layers of this incredible fireplace because to me it felt like an architectural ruin. Here you've got huge boulders, and then you've got several different types of brick. A lot of the concept for this place really evolved as I went, and you're pulling so much inspiration and you're trying to narrow down all of these beautiful things that you love. It's very hard to do, so if you're doing a renovation right now, you know what I'm talking about. It's really hard to say, I have all of this great reference, which one will I pick? As soon as I saw these brass cabinets, that question was answered. I didn't ever look back. This brass is here to patina and age. It was really, for me, it's about color and texture. It's not about brand names, of course. It's not about a certain period style, none of that. It's really about what works in this room, what makes me smile when I see it. This little cute door was actually original. This is one of the very few things that I kept. Keeping in my love of all things storybook and old world, having a Dutch door was a dream. And so this is actually original, and so you can also see that it inspired the diamond window panes around the rest of the house. The diamond paned windows, that was a must-have. That was literally the first thing I bought. So when the carpenter that I was collaborating with gave me the invoice for the windows, I was realizing how quickly I would be blowing my budget. Another thing that we worked on was how to get some privacy. For the most part, this is a very private property, but nobody likes to be in a fishbowl at night. So we built these integrated shutters that can really stand the test of time. They aren't going to look like some outdated window treatment. When I first bought this place, it had been renovated in the 1970s, and one of the cool features that they had put in this space was a sunken living room. It had a different shape. It was on a semicircle or a quarter circle, and instead of a solid wall, it had a wrought iron railing. So I wanted to take that away, but if this place had only been one big flat expanse, it just wouldn't have the same feeling. You've got to find ways in a huge space to create moments of intimacy. It's really important to give people that different vibe within a room. So instead of a really flimsy railing, we went with a big built-in shelves. I have lots of art and design books, so that was an easy decision to get a good place to separate the spaces, to display some things. This house deserved its own name. This is such a beautiful, unique place that it needed a name. The name I chose for it was Savoir Vivre, which is to know how to live. And so I gave it a little logo and painted that here on the chimney. The beauty and the wonderful experience of building a home for yourself, there's no pressure from anyone else to do it a certain way. It's all mine. I recently saw a great quote that said, when you design for yourself, you design without fear. And truthfully, I didn't even go as far as that I would have wanted, because there's a budget that has to be followed. So if something was unconventional, or if something might get a question mark from somebody visiting, I don't care, because it's my place, and I had to do this for me. And I also think that when you take some design risks and when you make a big statement about something that's a cohesive statement, you free other people to do the same thing too. So I have no regrets about doing a quirky house.